Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts, Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy!
Hey, welcome back to the Ages of Rock podcast. It's Bill and Alan. Dennis is off for the evening. So we got a couple of guys from Chains Over Razors with us tonight. So we got Mikey V and Will Mullen. How you guys doing?
What's up?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm good, man. Trying to, we were just talking about this before we started recording. It's like colder than shit and around here. And you guys are in the north, right? So you guys are in Chicago, so it's even worse.
Yeah, we got that lakefront. And then I think earlier today I was on a phone and then I started getting pelted in the head by some ice. It was like micro, whatever.
Sleet.
Ice. Yeah. And I was like, all right, it kind of hurt.
Knock a little sense into you though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it did.
It didn't work? It didn't work? Fail?
No,
Epic
not
fail?
at all.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. So you guys have a new record out, right? Or coming out very soon. You've released a single, new thing coming out. Talk to us about that. What's going on?
You want to go for it, Will?
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, so we just released an album, I want to say a few weeks ago. 12 tracks on the album through Deco Entertainment. And we have slowly been rocking ourselves up the Billboard Charts, which was very unexpected to us and amazing news to get. And we wanted to keep climbing on the way up while we're still working out more show dates at this moment. And, busy with interviews, doing a lot of podcasts just like this, which has been awesome and uncensored as well. And yeah, so I mean it's been a crazy few weeks. Definitely sleepless, that's for sure.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah, not at all.
So this is the sophomore release, right? So this is your second record?
That's right.
Right?
And
so no sophomore slump here, because it's going up the charts.
That's right. I mean, our executive producer is Carmine Apiece, and he said the same thing. He's like, usually a sophomore album doesn't do as good as the first, and he's like, this one, took it to a whole other level. And I was like, yeah, we got a lot of piss and vinegar in us to get on out. So
I listened to some of it today. I kind of noticed that.
Yeah, that's why we're so funny and mellow. It's because we let out all that anger. Now, if you take us away from our instruments, run.
There you go.
So tell us about Carmine Apiece producing your album. How did that come about?
Well, there are multiple stories on that one. I mean, he produced our first album, and that is something I think we're still trying to figure out how we interconnected and met on that. I remember just on my end getting a call and saying, hey, I'm texting you Carmine Apiece's phone number. He's interested in producing your first album. When he'll call, I don't know, but expect it. And it just so happened when I got that message, I'm watching That Metal Show and he's on That Metal Show. And then the next day, boom, on my phone, there's Carmine, and I'm like looking at it going, oh man, don't sound like an idiot. Like, here's a rock legend. And I pick up the phone, he's all like, oh hey dude, I heard the stuff. He's like, it's fucking killing, man. He's like, let's work on this record, let's do this. And I was like, man, great. And that's how it started. And then right before the pandemic, I was backstage at a buddy's show, and I pretty much missed the whole show. So I was like, man, I gotta call Carmine. William and my brother and I were in the process of starting to write and record a new album, but it's like, let's hit up Carmine, let's get him to produce this one as well. And we were on the phone for about 2 hours as I'm backstage at the show, and he was like, I'm in. let's do this. And then that's where it's, the rabbit hole started again. And we went down the metal madness.
Cool. Has he I had a question, because a lot of bands now are doing self-producing and just putting stuff out on their own. So it's kind of cool that you guys have an outside producer. Do you think that's helped you guys? Has he pushed you guys to do things differently than maybe what you would have done if you wouldn't have had a producer?
100%. I mean, he'll catch things that we may have missed, and been like, hey, it's right there, or bring that back, or change the key or something, because it's really easy as you're writing and recording at the same time. So when we went into this album, we had ideas, but we threw all the ideas away and started from scratch. And fresh start, had nothing on the table. Whatever happens, and let's capture that spontaneous moment. And as you're doing it, you can get easily lost in your art, and you need that outside ear to slow you down sometimes and bring you right back to the ground level. And he always pushed us to level ourselves up, but at the same time also let us figure ourselves out with what we are writing. And that is really important, I think, for anybody recording, is to make sure that you're true to who you are and what you're writing. And he didn't push us away in whatsoever on what we wanted to do, which was kick your ass is pretty much. And he's like, have at it, but he would guide us in the right direction and make sure that we were on the right track and didn't get lost. And we had moments we got lost, a couple of songs we had to redo a few times, and he's like, you guys missed it, start over. Okay, give us a couple of weeks, boom, here you go, here's a track. And then he was like, yep, that's it, match or beat that. And the first song we did together was Behind These Eyes, which is the first single. Mm-hmm. And you hit it right, because he'll call you exactly 1 second after the song is done. If you don't hear anything right away, that means he's listening deeply and something's not right. So he called us back and he was like, that's it, you guys hit it great. And then we just took it from there.
Yeah, I would think that pause would be okay, so he's just going to tell us how we just screwed this up.
Yeah. and multiple times. I mean, I was out of town when he called me, and it was like 8 hours later, and that was, I think, our first pass of getting in the groove. And he was just like, nah. Nope, start over. And then we went back and retooled it, and then we found our groove, and then that was it. It was just a rocket ship from there. Everything just started flying. And I think the hardest part was when you have a lot of ideas, is to try to like really scale back and be like, okay, what is this song speaking to us, and you would wait for it to like bring its head right around the corner so you can grab it by its neck and pull the bastard out and be like, found you. So yeah, so I mean, it was a lot of those moments too. And everybody just brought something to the table, and the creative process was the most fun I've ever had writing and recording an album. And it feels that way. I mean, I must have heard these songs a million times before anyone else has heard it yet. And it's like, I can still listen to it feeling as fresh as the first day we wrote it.
Cool. So Will, do you write lyrics and stuff as the lead singer, or they hand you stuff and you just make magic happen? Is that your role?
Yeah, they handed me the song, no lyrics over it, and said, hey, figure something out here. That's what I did.
That's a pretty good gig. Came
Mm-hmm.
out okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how long have you guys been together? Yeah,
I mean, he brought, William brought a lot to the table. Yeah, I mean, it was, it helps us when you're trying to write music, to hear where your singer, what he's hearing, or his melodies and his approach, because it also really helps you adjust your arrangements as well. I mean, because it's like what we hear might be like the length of a part may not really be the right part, and he, there was many times William would come on in and he would start just improvising stuff. And then it would be like, wait, hold on a second. My brother and I need to go back and redo something here because what you're spitting out right now is some serious fire and we need to make an adjustment.
Cool. So a true collaboration. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's only 3 of you in the band, right? Because I don't know if people aren't familiar with you guys. There's only 3 of you, right?
Yeah, we're a power trio.
Nice. Nice. There's a couple other pretty good power trios, right? There's like the Police, Rush,
Yeah.
Triumph.
Triumph,
Yeah.
just to name a couple,
My
they
old
were
band.
okay, just kind of okay. What'd you
So-
say, Al?
I said my old band. So speaking
Nice.
of you and your brother, each of you tell your name, what instrument you play or what you sing or whatever. We should have done that up front. We're bad about that. We're unprofessional.
Go ahead.
Don't worry, we forgot too.
So Andy's the drummer, Mikey's the guitar player, just the guitar player, and then I'm the vocalist, and there is no bassist.
Well, that's sad.
Is it?
Well, that's what I
It's
play.
pretty interesting though how we do it. So technically, I'm actually doing both. With my guitar and the way it's tuned, it's also a 7-string, and then I'm gonna do another shameless plug on a podcast, but I use what's called a Fractal XFX3, and prior to that, I would have to bring out like enough gear for a 5-piece band, and all these cables, split the rig, try to transpose my guitar into a bass rig to cover that territory and in the tuning we're in. And, it covers the whole spectrum. And this was actually something that Carmine picked up about us, since my brother and I were kids, always jamming, is that we always tried to sound as full as any band that we were, learning to play the songs when we were younger. And, it passed over our heads, but he picked it out and he was like, this shit sounds huge without bass. Figure it out. So as time went, we got sick and tired of dealing with how much setup time it is to achieve that sonically with the amount of gear. And then my brother was like, well, screw that. Does this unit do what you need to do? And I was like 100%. So I was able to virtually actually design my tube amps in this unit and be able to split another output. So stereo guitar and a bass direct out. So I'm kind of doing both elements at the same time, covering the whole spectrum. So when you're listening to the album and you're hearing that bass and the bass frequencies, that's 100% what my unit is doing, the way you're hearing it. And that's how we do it live.
That's
A lot of people are like, what? And it's just like, just understand we do it. Trying to get into 6 months of designing it to make it work, was difficult, but we figured it out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've worked with a couple other bands who are just 2-piece bands and they do something similar.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Once you
it's
get that
difficult.
figured out and you get, what you got to do to play all of those parts, it's really fascinating.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's difficult. Sometimes you have to switch in this unit, it's called scenes, depending on a song for a part. You're doing a lot of pedal dancing on this controller, to set up what you're doing. There might be some songs where it's a little simpler on the scenes, but there's a few songs on this album where it's like, I'm utilizing all 12 buttons, while I'm singing harmonies with William. And then, I'm looking down and I got to stop just to switch over to this next part just to achieve what was created.
So
Yeah.
why did you never decide to have a bass player? Just because you liked the sound you got from the other part, or it just wasn't?
It was something that naturally developed, and that's where Carmine actually picked that out when we first started recording with him on our first album. I told him, like, well, we don't have a bass player on this. We still are looking for a bass player. And he was like, nah, that's it. He's like, you guys are going to be a 3-piece. He's like, he's like, where are you going to put bass? And it's like, I get it. There is functionality of bass players depending on style of music. But what we're doing so intricate is that I couldn't see really any bass player doing anything else but like popping and slapping because the territory recovery, we have to be careful as it is with what we're doing, not making it sound muddy, because that's easy to do when you're tuned as low as we are and still covering such a full range of audio in the sound. So that is something that over last few years we continued to develop, and then started really honing it in. And this is where we're at right now, and it's thundering. You see us live, we're gonna rattle you, we're gonna move air.
That's cool, man.
So speaking of live, are you guys working on a tour or just playing locally? How's this working out for you?
You want to get this, Will?
Well, for right now, we have one show coming up. It's at Bourbon Street, June 10th. Yeah, we wanna, that's gonna be coming up. We just got a booking agent, so that'll be coming soon. But probably will be like around the local or the states around us. So Indiana will be part of it, to start. And then, if we flourish, then we flourish further away.
Yeah. We'll make sure to bring you some Schlitz, Alan.
God.
Now, before you got on, Bill, we had a whole conversation about my Schlitz shirt and his Schlitz, or my Schlitz hat, and I can't even say it because too many in there, and I'm going to say shits.
Shit's it.
But he said he had a Schlitz button-down shirt. There we go. I got it.
Yeah, Mikey said that.
Yeah. Depending on how much you have, it can be the shits. So
back in the day, that's what we always called it.
Yeah.
That's been a day or two ago.
That's the diet plan.
So was there anything in particular that influenced the style of music that you are making right now, or is it just something you kind of came up on your own?
I think for everybody in the band, we've had so many different influences throughout the years, listening to various styles of music that, inspired us and also, translated into what we're doing. So, I always just try to narrow it down to Delta blues all the way to metal. It could be anything, whether, classic rock, however it is. We went down Floyd at times, to Sepultura. I know Williams is also a Floyd fan, and I'm a Zeppelin fan, and it could be anything, man.
Everything we were brought up with.
Yeah, even
from then until now, it's just everything. We just kind of, wanted to sound is honing in all of that as we do.
Yeah, and I'm sure the same for William. It's like I grew up listening to Elvis and Beatles, and then some Motown. It's just so all over the place, and then next thing you know, it's CCR. And then even taking lessons, with, kids, the teacher would start you, it's like, yeah, I want to shred, but cool, start with this, take a listen to this, but listen to the songwriting, not just how fast you can play, and my first teacher always told me, he's like, always try to write every song as if it's its own. And I think that's something that stuck with us since. And that's also the approach on this album is, we always wanted to have each song be its story, but the collection of it will be the chapters, like a book.
So when you were writing this record, then was everybody together when it was being written, or was it really written in the studio? Was it came in with some ideas, or was it kind of wrote in some way? Did you have a methodology?
It was all the way around, like partly in the studio. Maybe William might have had an idea, I was out somewhere and popped in his head and he's hearing a beat or a melody and he might hum it out and email it to us, and then my brother and I will hear it and then something could develop from there. I mean, you just never knew where the idea was going to come from.
And voice memos on my iPhone or godsend. Just so I'm like, hold on, I gotta tap this table real quick, send you the song that I just came up with tapping, and then they would run with it.
I've done that driving down the road. It's like, oh my gosh, I gotta, got it on my little rack and then pop it real quick, sing right into the microphone above my head. Not that anybody's ever gonna hear it, but by God, I got it down.
Right. When it comes, you got to get it. You got to make sure you record it.
Absolutely.
Or else you will forget.
Yeah. I mean, you will definitely forget. I mean, I actually went through it the other day. I have this whole catalog of ideas and it's just like, I don't even remember when the hell that even happened, but I'm glad I got it. It would have been lost, or maybe you might get lucky and stumble across it again, but it's never the same as the first time you had that idea. And that's something we wanted to make sure, even with this album, is what we always captured, was that immediate moment. So, I mean, we did a majority of the writing in the studio. I would say when COVID hit, that really screwed a lot of shit up. And, our studio's on a commercial property. So when they were like non-essential, and the city is going around like knocking on doors to see if you're legally operating to find you, it's like, what do? You can't even be here. So we lost a good solid 7-8 months, but once they started changing that around, we got back in here right away and had a lot to catch up on.
Nice. I have another question too about the charts. So where are people listening to your music that allows you guys to get on the Billboard charts?
Good question.
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
So where are people finding you guys to allow you to be on the Billboard charts, to be able to, have the rise that you guys are having? Where are they finding your music at?
I mean, good question. I mean, something we're asking ourselves every day. We are familiar with that radio has been picking up the song and putting on regular rotation. National FM stations and also the secondary markets. And that has been slowly spiraling and just starting to build. And every week, a report would come on in and then you're like, wait, we're at what number now? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until last week we actually, then immediately when it first hit radio, we were number 2 most added on the charts, which was unbelievable. It's like you have Black Keys, us, and Muse, and Hailstorm, and Jerry Cantrell, and you're thinking like, my God, these are all heavy hitters, and we're on the same top 10 list as them. And then as the weeks were going, it was slowly climbing its way up, and it was a top track gainer, as they call it. Mm-hmm. And it means it's building momentum and it's a hot track. And then it wasn't until last week we found out we cracked the top 40 Billboard, which was like what's going on?
Badass.
That's cool as hell, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I was like, shut up, you lying.
Lying sons of bitches.
Asshole. You know that?
Yeah.
Don't be playing that shit with me. I can't take it.
That's pretty accurate. We called William and he was like, fuck you guys are full of shit.
Full of shit.
It was pretty funny. I mean, my brother, smacked me right in the head because I was passed out on the sofa. And he was like, dude, wake the fuck up. Did you see your email? And I'm like rubbing my head like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, we're on the charts. And I was like, nah, I'm dreaming. This is the fucking Matrix. What are you talking about? But sure enough, it was real. And you would love to hit the charts, but you would never really expect it. The competition and how many heavy hitting bands, could hit the charts so quick and just plow right through it. Mm-hmm. And I always say in some of the other videos, we're like the the little schmucks in the crowd, like, hey, right here, like jumping, like, can you see us? You know, trying to get our foot in the door while everyone else is just like, shut up, you know. So so it was an amazing feeling to actually be like, wow, this is surreal, and it's still surreal to all of us. I mean, you have those moments where you stop and you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And then you come to terms with it, and then you're back to holy fuck.
Right.
That's the only way to put it. It's crazy.
Now, you said something about part of the chart climb was you included secondary markets in there. And by secondary markets, are you talking like, are you guys on streaming services like Spotify and Pandora and YouTube and all of that stuff?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I know Spotify has a big influence on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to understand how they work out those markets. And, from what I'm understanding, like there could be certain stations that are syndicated, all the way across the United States, and it's the same platform. But that company also owns other markets underneath them, like an umbrella.
Yeah.
Or each city will have different rock stations, just like 95 Low Rocks, Milwaukee, but you go to Chicago and it's like 100 point, what was that one? Well,
100.7.
That one. So, I mean, from what I understand, I guess that's what's considered a secondary because it's privately owned, but it's also nationally syndicated.
So like Clear Channel owns all of these stations.
Yeah.
In different parts of the country. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and then if you drive south far enough, that station won't be the same station. You got to find a different rock station. And then that's what that station will be, for rock. So it's like that all around the United States right now. And we're in over 30 markets, I want to say right now. I think it started out, we were in over 20 and it's growing weekly. So pretty awesome.
How are you doing in the Chicago market?
Right, yeah. So it's all new to me.
Yeah. So how's it going in the Chicago market? Are you at the home base? Or you guys got that pretty much covered? Is it going pretty well there?
So, I mean, as far as what we're doing with shows and stuff, yeah, we're slowly building it up. I don't know yet if we're actually in the Chicago stations yet. I know that it's working towards being added. I do know that we did hit recently Madison, Wisconsin. So, I mean, that's a pretty large city. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's slowly going to trickle its way around. I think now that as it's growing on the charts, I think more stations are going to start adding it as we're climbing it. So, slow process.
Well,
it's happening so fast.
Right. Yeah.
I also find sometimes it's harder to break into your local market than it is to break in surrounding areas.
Yeah.
That's
how it feels.
God, if I could even memorize right now how many markets we're in. I mean, there's a few stations that will end up tagging us, which is kind of cool on our social media platforms. And they're like, hey, we just, played you. And then we'll hit them back up, that like salute, turn it up. So that's pretty cool. But some other stations, you kind of have to dig for it, and listen, and you catch it and it's great. I mean, just last night, my brother and I, stopped to go get some gas before we came to the studio. And then we're listening to a station that simulcasts. So outside of just the FM, they simulcast their FM through the internet. And boom, there it was. It's jamming on the radio. You hear the call sign, and then the intro riff is tearing your head off. And you're like, man, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, that's got to be a feeling that just is crazy. I mean, I can't imagine that. I've heard that from other people, but it's just, I can't imagine sitting in the car, listening to the radio, and all of a sudden your song comes on. It's just like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm still waiting for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts, and it sounds different from all the radio compression and stuff that goes on. So it's cool to hear what that sounds like. And then, but I mean, it's nuts hearing it with the call sign incorporated from the station. But, you know, I think yesterday it was Ghost and then us. And it was like, what? You know, the other day it was Muse, then us, you know, and it's just like, somebody smacked me in the head again. And if anyone who watches this, do not do that, please.
Be a line at the next show.
Yeah. Okay, let's see who can knock Mikey the fuck out.
Alan, you're
muted.
Your microphone.
I never mute myself. You guys just can't hear. This every show. 6.5 years, every show.
Every show.
I'm consistent.
There
Anyway, you said something about radio stations tagging you guys in social media. Tell our listeners where they can find you guys on social media.
So I mean, we're on Facebook, also Instagram, Twitter. Am I leaving anything else out? I think we're working our way towards TikTok, which is new to us. That's something different, but mainly on those 3 platforms, you can get a hold of us and we'll reply to you right away.
You guys do your own social media?
Yeah, we're on it.
And
all the time. All the time.
Well, if you're on social media, you can't be practicing.
Except for when we're practicing, we shut off the phones. That we have to throw it down the hall. And
I'm a bass player. Practice is overrated.
Yeah,
you're the reason they don't have one.
we do a lot of practicing. I mean, we wrote some challenging material, and it's deceiving. It sounds like it's not as intricate as it is, but if you really listen to it, there's a lot of intricate shit happening. So I mean, there's moments us rehearsing where it's like, okay, I keep fucking this part up. You know, it's like all the time I gotta figure this out, you know, and you have to be really focused and concentrated on your part, or you make one mistake, you could easily just throw each one of us off. And you have to be prepared to recover and make it sound like you didn't fuck up.
Yeah, I was doing a little jazz improv.
All planned. I meant to do that.
It's all jazz improv.
All planned.
Yeah.
All planned.
So what is your web address?
So for Facebook,
do you have a website?
changeoverrazors.com.
I don't know if people will remember that. That seems pretty tough.
Yeah, well, you know, depends on what they're smoking.
Right.
They might remember.
They might remember.
I forgot I ate some edibles,
They'll
I ate
probably
some
remember
more.
if they smoke. If you don't smoke, you won't remember, right?
Something
Exactly.
like
It helps a little bit. Helps the memory.
But yeah, I mean, even through there on chainsoverrazors.com, you know, we have all the links to go to our the media socials.
The media social. I'm gonna have to remember that. That's funny.
That's a good one. That's a good
Isn't
one.
that funny?
Yeah,
that's almost as good as Mikey Velociraptor.
That's pretty good.
There you go. Well, fellas, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. We really appreciate it. It's been great. It's always great for us to catch new bands and bands that are putting new stuff out and turning some of our listeners onto it. And hopefully you pick up a few extra people. We'll help you get pushed up that chart a little bit further. That'd be awesome. But,
yeah, I mean, keep requesting us at your stations and pester the shit out of them. You know,
we appreciate both of you for having us on here.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hang around for just a second. Alan, you want to take us out of here?
I sure will. You people know what to do. Visit agesofrock.com and check out our social media and our past episodes. And until next time, peace out. Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.